feels like you're dying. It is demoralizing. It is dehumanizing. You are a number.
A Jacksonville woman who Corrine Brown helped to get out of prison speaks exclusively with First Coast News. With Brown just 3 days away from becoming an inmate herself, Marissa Alexander has some advice about doing time, and I'm sure you probably recognize the name. First Coast News reporter Brittany Dion has this exclusive story for us. Brittany.
Anthony, it was around 1 a.m. on January 17th, 2016, or 17 rather, that authorities went to Marissa Alexander's Northside home and cut off her ankle bracelet. After 5 years, she was finally free. The first thing she did was hop in her car and drive to her sister's house in Mandarin. But the anniversary of her release is bittersweet because in a few days, one of her biggest supporters, former Congresswoman Corrine Brown, will begin a 5-year prison sentence.
Glad that your life is starting to get back to normal. And I tell them it's better than normal.
Marissa Alexander starts her day with a hot cup of lemon water, then heads to the gym.
I got to work out.
These days, the mother of 3 is doing things her way, moving forward from a marred past. She sat down with First Coast News just hours before the 1-year anniversary of her full release from incarceration. Alexander spent 3 years in prison and 2 years on house arrest for firing a warning shot at her estranged husband in 2010. She claimed it was self-defense and argued that Florida's Stand Your Ground law, which allows a person to use deadly force against an attacker, applied to her case. The courts saw otherwise and sentenced her to 20 years in prison.
I never stopped thinking about the fact that I would be out. I would literally be seeing myself coming from prison, see what 95 looked like, passing my mom's exit. All these things had to be in my mouth.
The case caught worldwide attention. Countless people began to speak out for Alexander, including former Congresswoman Corrine Brown. Brown is now heading to prison herself after being convicted of fraud.
You guys are essentially switching places.
And that's hard because regardless of what a choice a person makes, you still love them.
I'm sure you've spoken to her about how to cope.
Let me tell you something. She's more encouraging than you think. She's doing good. There was never a conversation about, let me tell you what you do. She's gonna do what she do. But I believe she's gonna have respect wherever she go, and I'm praying that everything is turning around just like myself.
Things have turned around for Alexander. She started a nonprofit, the Marissa Alexander Justice Project. She now travels the country promoting her efforts to prevent domestic violence and challenge legislation that disproportionately impacts certain demographics.
Most women that are incarcerated have been exposed to some type of violence, whether it was against them or they've seen it, and that has rose. It's rose by 800% women increase in prisons. And so then the impacts on the family. Like 60% of them are mothers. So then what happens to the family structure? And all these things trickle down in school and how we interact in our communities.
And to celebrate the anniversary of her full release, Alexander says she plans to go live on her Facebook page from a speaking engagement over the weekend. We'll be sure to post the links to that so that you can talk to her. She says she's going to speak to the supporters as well as answer questions. We'll have the link to that on our website at firstcoastnews.com. Back to you, Anthony.
Brittany Dion, thank you. And we did some digging tonight about what Brown's life will be like in jail. And it turns out the prison she's going to houses some of the most notorious federal inmates in the country. Infamous Boston gangster Whitey Bulger is there. He was on the FBI's most wanted list. And just in case you were wondering, Corrine Brown will still be able to collect her federal pension while in prison despite her conviction. Brown can get the money until all of her appeals are exhausted, which could take years.